Dr. Kate Bennett walked into the Great Hall of Harmony's rest station with her hands full of data tablets. The station floated in neutral space between three major powers that controlled most of the galaxy. Today, she would speak to the Galactic Council about Earth's newest aid program. She hoped they would listen. The hall was huge and filled with beings from dozens of worlds. Kate saw the tall, elegant elves from the consortium sitting in their silver chairs. Their leader, Sci-Fi Moonweaver, looked at Kate with cold blue eyes. Next to them sat the reptilian Krillians, led by Admiral Vexara. Her scales were dark green, and her yellow eyes never blinked. On the far side were the crystal beings of the Void Syndicate. Lady Nixandra looked like living glass that caught and bent light in strange ways. Kate reached the speaking platform and looked out at the crowd. She had done this many times before, but it never got easier. Earth was still new to galactic politics. Only 50 years ago, humans had been alone on their blue world. Now they tried to be helpful neighbors to species that had traveled between stars for thousands of years. "Honored members of the Council," Kate began. "Earth wishes to announce our latest humanitarian mission. We have prepared medical supplies for the refugee camps in the Outer Rim. Food shipments are ready for the drought worlds of Sector 7. Our best doctors volunteer to help with the plague outbreak on Kepler Station." She touched her tablet, and holographic images appeared above the platform. Pictures showed human doctors treating alien patients. Human engineers fixed broken water systems on distant worlds. Human teachers worked with alien children in refugee schools. Sci-Fi Moonweaver stood up from her chair. The elf was beautiful, in the way that made other species feel ugly. Her silver hair fell to her waist and her skin was perfect white. When she spoke, her voice was like music, but her words were sharp as knives. "How touching," Sci-Fi said. "The humans play at being galactic saviors again. Tell me, Dr. Bennett, what do you hope to gain from all this charity? What do you really want from us?" Kate felt heat rise in her cheeks, but kept her voice calm. "We want nothing except to help those who suffer. Earth believes that all thinking beings deserve dignity and care." Sci-Fi laughed, and the sound echoed through the hall. Several other aliens joined in. "How naive, how wonderfully simple-minded. You give away your resources for free and expect nothing back. Your species must be very wealthy or very stupid." Admiral Vexara stood next. The Krillian was built like a predator with sharp teeth and claws. "My people have watched humans for 50 years. You are soft. You avoid conflict. You negotiate when you should fight. You show mercy to enemies. This is weakness." "It is strength," Kate replied firmly. "It takes more courage to help than to hurt. It takes more wisdom to build than to destroy." Lady Nixandra's crystalline form shifted and caught the light differently. When she spoke, her voice sounded like wind chimes. "Interesting philosophy, human. Your species fascinates our researchers. We study how such gentle creatures survived on their world. Perhaps you were never truly tested." Kate wanted to argue, but Admiral Lisa Morgan had taught her to pick her battles. Lisa was Earth's top military leader, and she understood politics better than most diplomats. She had told Kate to stay focused on the mission. "Regardless of your opinions about human nature," Kate said, "people are suffering. Our medical ship Mercy departed yesterday for the consortium refugee camps. Captain Amy Carter commands the mission. They carry enough supplies to treat 10,000 patients." Sci-Fi's perfect features twisted into something ugly. "How convenient. Your ship will enter consortium space just as we conduct military exercises. I hope your Captain Carter understands that accidents happen during war games." The threat was clear, but Kate could not respond with anger. Earth's policy was always peace first. "I'm sure the consortium will honor safe passage for medical vessels as required by galactic law." "Laws," Vexara hissed. "Laws are for the weak. The strong take what they want. The Krillian Empire grows larger every year because we understand this truth." Kate finished her presentation and left the platform. As she walked back to her seat, she heard Sci-Fi talking to other council members. The elf's voice carried across the hall. "Humans think kindness makes them special. They believe their mercy proves they are evolved. But mercy is just fear dressed up in pretty words. They are afraid to fight, so they pretend violence is wrong. When real danger comes, they will run like all cowards do." Other aliens nodded and whispered agreement. Kate sat down and tried not to show how much the words hurt. She thought about Captain Amy Carter and her crew heading into dangerous space to help refugees. She thought about the human doctors who had died treating plague victims on alien worlds. She thought about the engineers who worked in poison atmospheres to fix alien life support systems. Maybe humans were different from other species. Maybe mercy was unusual in a galaxy full of predators. But Kate believed it was still right to help those who needed help, even if others mocked them for it. Hours later, Kate sat in her quarters aboard the human diplomatic ship. She was writing her report when Commander Maya Torres visited. Maya led Earth's special operations teams and rarely showed emotion. Tonight she looked worried. "The intelligence reports are getting worse," Maya said. "All three powers are moving ships toward human space. They're coordinating their actions. Something big is coming." Kate looked up from her tablet. "Admiral Morgan thinks we can still negotiate peace." Maya sat down across from Kate. "Lisa believes in diplomatic solutions. I hope she's right. But intelligence suggests the aliens see our mercy as proof we won't fight back. They're testing us to see how far they can push before we break. And if we break, then we'll find out what humans are really capable of when pushed too far," Maya said quietly. "I've studied our military history, Kate. Before we reached the stars, we were very good at war. We just chose to be better than that." Kate thought about this as Maya left. She returned to her report and tried to focus on positive things. Tomorrow, the Mercy would reach the refugee camps. Human doctors would save alien lives. Human engineers would fix broken systems. Human teachers would give alien children hope for the future. But something cold was growing in her chest, a feeling she did not want to name. Because deep down, Kate was starting to wonder if kindness really was enough in a galaxy that respected only strength. Outside her window, the stars looked different tonight. Less welcoming, more dangerous, like the eyes of predators watching from the dark. Admiral Vexara stood before the massive view screen in her command ship. The reptilian's yellow eyes gleamed with satisfaction as she watched human ships burn in the distance. Her fleet had just attacked a medical convoy heading to treat plague. Victims on Kepler Station. 200 human doctors and nurses were dead. "Broadcast this across all frequencies," Vexara ordered her communications officer. "Let the galaxy see what happens to human weakness." The recording showed human medical ships trying to escape. They had no weapons and could not fight back. The Krillian warships tore them apart with plasma cannons. Some humans tried to surrender. Vexara had ordered them killed anyway. "This is Admiral Vexara of the Krillian Empire speaking to all human colonies," she said into the recording device. "Your people call themselves healers and peacemakers. We call you prey. You send medical ships into war zones like sheep walking, into wolf dens. Your mercy is foolishness. Your compassion is weakness, and weakness must be eliminated from the galaxy." The recording went out on emergency channels to every human world. Within hours, it reached Earth itself. Admiral Lisa Morgan watched it in her office at Earth Defense Command. Her hands remained steady, but her green eyes grew cold as winter storms. "Captain, Amy Carter received the message while her ship Valiant orbited the refugee camps near Consortium space. She had just finished delivering medical supplies when the news came through." Amy stared at the names of the dead doctors. She had trained with some of them at the academy. "Captain," her communications officer, Lieutenant Sophie Williams, said quietly, "we're receiving a transmission from Sci-Fi Moonweaver." Amy nodded, and the elf's perfect face appeared on the main screen. Sci-Fi was broadcasting from what looked like a throne room. Behind her stood cages filled with human prisoners. "Greetings, Captain Carter," Sci-Fi said with a cold smile. "I trust you heard about the unfortunate incident with your medical convoy. Such a shame when accidents happen in dangerous space." Amy kept her voice level. "Those were unarmed medical personnel operating under galactic law." "Laws again," Sci-Fi laughed. "You humans are obsessed with your precious laws. Let me show you how much we value your legal protections." The elf gestured, and one of the cages opened. Guards dragged out a human woman in a torn medical uniform. Amy recognized her as Dr. Helen Price from the Mars Colony Medical Center. Dr. Price was captured when her research station was investigating new treatments for consortium genetic diseases, Sci-Fi explained. "She came to help our people. How touching. Guards, demonstrate proper consortium hospitality." Amy watched in horror as the guards began torturing the human doctor. Dr. Price screamed, but tried to stay brave. Sci-Fi smiled throughout the entire display. "This is your mercy in action, Captain," the elf said. "Your doctor came to heal our people, and we repay her with pain. Will you attack us to save her? Will you abandon your precious peaceful principles? Or will you watch her suffer and prove that human compassion is just cowardice in disguise?" The transmission ended. Amy stood frozen on her bridge. Her crew looked at her with anger and disgust. They all wanted to rescue Dr. Price, but Earth's orders were clear. No aggressive action. Always seek diplomatic solutions first. On the other side of the galaxy, Commander Maya Torres was investigating reports of missing human scientists. Her special operations team had tracked the disappearances to a Void Syndicate research facility in the Outer Rim. What they found there would give Maya nightmares for years. The facility contained laboratories filled with human test subjects. Lady Nixandra's scientists were studying human pain responses. They wanted to understand how humans stayed compassionate despite suffering. They thought it was some kind of genetic defect that could be corrected. Fascinating creatures, one crystal scientist explained to Maya through the laboratory window. They maintain emotional bonds even under extreme stress. Most species become purely selfish when tortured. Humans continue to care about others. We are trying to locate the brain defect that causes this malfunction. Maya watched human prisoners comfort each other in their cells. Parents held sick children. Strangers shared meager food rations. Even after months of torture, they still helped each other. "You call it a defect," Maya said quietly. "We call it humanity." The crystal being shifted its light patterns in what might have been confusion. "You seem proud of this weakness. Why would any species choose to suffer for others? It provides no evolutionary advantage." Maya did not answer. She was too busy memorizing the facility layout for the rescue mission she was already planning in her head. Back on Earth, Dr. Kate Bennett sat in Admiral Morgan's office reviewing intelligence reports. The news was getting worse every day. Human colonies were being raided for scientific specimens. Trade ships were disappearing. Diplomatic missions were being attacked. "They're testing us," Admiral Morgan said. "Each attack is designed to provoke a response. They want to see if we'll abandon our principles when pushed hard enough." Kate looked at photos of tortured human prisoners. "Maybe we should respond. People are dying while we try to negotiate with monsters." Admiral Morgan was quiet for a long moment. She was a tall woman with graying hair and tired eyes. She had served in Earth's military for 30 years and seen too much war in humanity's past. "If we abandon mercy now, we become like them," Lisa said finally. "Earth's strength has always been our ability to choose peace over violence. The moment we give up that choice, we lose what makes us human. And if our mercy gets everyone killed, then at least we die as ourselves rather than as monsters." Kate wanted to argue, but Admiral Morgan's communicator buzzed with an urgent message. The news was worse than anything yet. Lady Nixandra had announced the formation of a three-way alliance between the Consortium, Krillian Empire, and Void Syndicate. They called it the Human Pacification Protocol. The alliance broadcast their manifesto to the entire galaxy. Sci-Fi Moonweaver spoke for all three powers. "For 50 years, we have watched humans spread their weakness across the galaxy," the elf announced. "They corrupt strong species with talk of mercy and compassion. They make predators question their nature. They turn warriors into caregivers. This infection must be stopped before it destroys galactic civilization." The manifesto declared humans to be a disease that threatened the natural order. The three powers would work together to cure the galaxy of human influence. They promised to capture Earth itself and use humans as test subjects to understand how such a weak species had survived so long. "We will study them," Lady Nixandra added in her wind chime voice. "We will learn their secrets, and then we will correct their genetic defects so they can serve proper masters as nature intended." The message ended with images of human prisoners in alien laboratories. Families torn apart. Children crying for parents who would never return. Scientists tortured for trying to heal alien diseases. Admiral Morgan turned off the view screen and looked at Kate. "They've made their choice. Now, we have to make ours." Kate thought about Captain Amy Carter watching helplessly as human doctors were tortured. She thought about Maya Torres finding humans used as laboratory animals. She thought about all the times Earth had offered friendship only to be mocked and attacked. "What choice do we have left?" Kate asked. Admiral Morgan walked to her office window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, human ships were carrying medical supplies to alien worlds. Human doctors were treating alien patients. Human teachers were helping alien children learn to read. And somewhere else, alien ships were hunting those same humans like animals. "We have one choice left," Admiral Morgan said quietly. "We can show them the difference between choosing mercy and being forced into it." Commander Maya Torres knelt in the smoking ruins of New Geneva's main hospital. Around her lay the bodies of human children who had been trying to hide in the basement when the alien fleet arrived. The attack had been surgical and deliberate. Every school, every hospital, every orphanage had been targeted first. Maya touched the small hand of a girl who could not have been more than 6 years old. The child still clutched a stuffed animal that human doctors had given her after treating her genetic illness. The aliens had killed her slowly just to send a message. "Commander," Lieutenant Sophie Williams called from across the rubble, "We found survivors in the underground shelter. About 50 civilians, including Dr. Kate Bennett." Maya stood and walked through the destroyed medical center. New Geneva had been Earth's most peaceful colony. No military bases, no weapons factories. Just farms and hospitals and schools. 2.3 million humans had lived here yesterday. Now most of them were dead or missing. Dr. Kate Bennett sat in the makeshift medical station, treating wounded survivors. Her diplomatic uniform was torn and covered in blood, but her hands remained steady as she bandaged a child's broken arm. When she saw Maya, her eyes were different. The gentle hope that had always lived there was gone. "They broadcast the whole thing," Kate said without looking up from her patient. "Made sure the galaxy could watch every detail. Sci-Fi Moonweaver personally supervised the murder of the children's hospital. She wanted everyone to see human mercy being punished." Maya had watched the recordings during the flight to New Geneva. The Alien Alliance had turned the attack into entertainment. Vexara's ships had bombed schools while parents ran to save their children. Lady Nixandra's scientists had collected human survivors for their experiments. And Sci-Fi had stood in the burning city center laughing about human weakness. "They made a mistake," Maya said quietly. Kate finally looked up. "What mistake?" "They killed millions of innocent people, and the galaxy cheered them for it." "They showed us who they really are. No more pretending. No more lies about honor or civilization. They're monsters, and now everyone knows it." Kate returned to treating the wounded child. Knowing doesn't help the dead. Maya walked outside to where Captain Amy Carter was coordinating the rescue efforts. Amy's ship Valiant had been the first to respond when New Geneva stopped transmitting. She had brought every medical team Earth could spare, but it was not enough. Too many people were gone. "Final casualty count," Amy reported. 2.3 million dead, 800,000 missing, probably taken for alien experiments, 50,000 wounded survivors. Maya looked across the devastated city. In the distance, she could see where Sci-Fi's forces had built a temporary base to broadcast their victory celebration. The elf was still there, making speeches about how easily human mercy had been crushed. "Any word from Earth?" Maya asked. Amy nodded toward her communications officer. "Admiral Morgan is addressing the Earth Council right now. Emergency session." Back on Earth, Admiral Lisa Morgan stood before the assembled representatives of every human world. The council chamber was silent as she read the casualty reports from New Geneva. When she finished, the numbers hung in the air like a death sentence. 4. 50 years we have chosen peace over war, Admiral Morgan said. "We believed that mercy was strength. We thought compassion could change the galaxy. We were wrong." Counselor David Park from the Mars colonies spoke first. "Admiral, what are our options?" "We have 2 choices," Lisa replied. "We can continue our peaceful policies and watch as more human worlds are destroyed, or we can show the galaxy what humans are capable of when we stop choosing mercy." The council erupted in arguments. Some representatives still believed in diplomatic solutions. They wanted to appeal to other galactic powers for protection. Others demanded immediate military action against the Alliance. Counselor Sarah Kim from the Jupiter mining stations stood up. "Admiral Morgan, you've been preparing for this possibility, haven't you? The rumors about hidden military projects, the classified construction in the outer system. What exactly has Earth been building while..." We played diplomats? Admiral Morgan was quiet for a long moment. Then she activated a holographic display that showed the outer solar system beyond Pluto. What appeared on screen made the entire council gasp. A massive fleet of warships floated in hidden dockyards, hundreds of vessels larger and more advanced than anything the Alliance possessed. Weapon platforms that could crack planets, stealth ships that could appear anywhere in the galaxy without warning. For 50 years, we have shown the galaxy our mercy, Admiral Morgan said. We never showed them our strength. While we sent medical ships and aid convoys, we also built the most advanced military force in galactic history. Not because we wanted war, but because we knew that mercy is only meaningful when you have the power to choose violence instead. The council chamber fell silent again. These ships represented decades of secret construction. Earth's greatest scientists and engineers had been working in hidden facilities to build weapons that could protect human worlds if diplomacy failed. The aliens think we are weak because we choose peace, Admiral Morgan continued. They believe mercy means we cannot fight. They are about to learn the difference between choosing to be peaceful and being forced to be peaceful. Counselor Park asked the question everyone was thinking. What about our principles? What about the values that make us human? Admiral Morgan looked around the chamber at representatives from every human world. These people had built a civilization based on helping others and avoiding unnecessary conflict. Now they had to decide if those principles were worth dying for. Our principles remain the same, Admiral Morgan said. We will show mercy to those who deserve it. We will help those who need help. We will protect the innocent and care for the weak. But we will no longer tolerate those who mistake our kindness for weakness. The vote was unanimous. Every human world authorized Admiral Morgan to use whatever force was necessary to protect human civilization. The age of unlimited mercy was over. On New Geneva, Commander Maya Torres received the military authorization through encrypted channels. She looked at the burning city around her and thought about the children who had died for the crime of being human. Sci-Fi Moonweaver was still broadcasting from her temporary base. The elf was describing human cowardice to galactic audiences while standing on the graves of murdered civilians. She had no idea that human fleets were already moving through space toward her location. Maya, Captain Amy Carter approached with a grim expression. Orders from Earth Command. We're to begin evacuation of all human civilians from contested space. Military assets are being deployed for Operation Righteous Fury. Maya had helped plan Operation Righteous Fury during her years in Strategic Command. It was Earth's contingency, plan for total war against hostile alien powers. She had hoped they would never need to use it. How long until the fleet arrives? Maya asked. Amy checked her tactical display. Advanced forces reach consortium space in 18 hours. Main battle groups arrive in 72 hours. Admiral Morgan is leading the assault personally. Maya looked toward Sci-Fi's base, where the elf was still celebrating her easy victory over defenseless humans. Soon that laughter would stop. Soon, the entire galaxy would learn what humans were capable of when pushed beyond all limits. Dr. Kate Bennett finished treating the last wounded survivor and walked over to join them. Her medical bag was empty and her hands were stained with human blood. I've requested transfer to military intelligence, Kate announced. My xenobiology knowledge can help identify alien weaknesses. If we're going to war, I want to make sure we win. Maya nodded. The gentle diplomat who had tried so hard to make peace was gone. In her place stood someone who understood that sometimes mercy required terrible strength. The galaxy wanted to see what humans are really like, Maya said, as she watched Sci-Fi's broadcast. They're about to get their wish. Admiral Lisa Morgan stood on the bridge of the dreadnought EFS Retribution as it dropped out of hyperspace above the consortium homeworld. Around her ship materialized the largest battle fleet in galactic history. 500 human warships appeared like ghosts from the void, their hulls black as space itself and bristling with weapons the aliens had never seen before. Sci-Fi Moonweaver was in the middle of another victory broadcast when her communications officer interrupted with panic in his voice. The elf had been describing how easily human colonies fell to superior alien forces. She stopped mid-sentence as her tactical screens lit up with impossible readings. Admiral, the consortium officer stammered, we're detecting massive energy, signatures throughout the system. Unknown ships are appearing on all sensor grids. They're not using any propulsion technology we recognize. Sci-Fi stared at the tactical display. Human ships surrounded every consortium world and military base. Simultaneously, they had appeared without warning and moved with precision that suggested planning and preparation far beyond anything the aliens had imagined possible. "This is Admiral Lisa Morgan of the Earth Defense Force," a voice announced across all frequencies. "You have exactly 1 hour to release all human prisoners and surrender your fleets for judgment. Any refusal will result in the complete destruction of your military capabilities." Sci-Fi laughed, but the sound was forced and nervous. "Impossible. Humans don't have this kind of technology. They don't have this many ships. This must be some kind of trick." But her sensor officers were confirming the readings. The human fleet was real, and it was enormous. Weapons scans showed energy outputs that could level continents, shield systems that bent physics in ways consortium science could not explain. On the bridge of the Retribution, Admiral Morgan watched tactical displays showing alien fleet positions throughout the galaxy. Human forces had struck simultaneously at every major military installation belonging to the Alliance. Years of careful intelligence gathering had paid off. Earth knew where every enemy ship was located. Commander Maya Torres led the assault on the Krillian home system. Her task force of 50 ships dropped out of hyperspace directly above Admiral Vexara's command station. The reptilian admiral was meeting with her fleet commanders when alarms began screaming throughout the base. "Humans," Vexara hissed as she watched the tactical display. "But this is impossible. Our intelligence reported they had no significant military forces. Their ships were small and lightly armed." Her communications officer looked up from his console with confusion. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from one of the human ships. It's addressed to you personally." Maya Torres appeared on the view screen. The human commander looked different from the diplomatic officers the Krillians had met before. Her eyes were cold, and her voice carried the authority of someone accustomed to violence. "Admiral Vexara," Maya said, "you murdered 200 human medical personnel. You broadcast their deaths as entertainment. You claimed humans were too weak to fight back. I'm here to correct your mistake." Vexara drew herself up to her full reptilian height. "You think you can threaten the Krillian Empire with your few ships? We have dominated this galaxy for millennia. We will tear your fleet apart and use your bones for decoration." Maya smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "You're welcome to try. But first, let me show you something your intelligence services missed." The view screen shifted to show the Krillian home system from space. Human ships surrounded every planet and space station, but these were not the small vessels the aliens expected. These were massive warships armed with weapons that made Krillian plasma cannons look like toys. "This is just one task force," Maya explained. "Earth has 30 more fleets this size positioned throughout the galaxy. While you were laughing at our mercy, we were building the tools to defend it." Captain Amy Carter commanded the third prong of the assault against Lady Nyx Andra's research facilities. Her ship Valiant led a squadron of specialized vessels designed for precision strikes. They materialized inside the Void Syndicate's most secure system, where thousands of human prisoners were being held for experimentation. Lady Nyx Andra's crystalline form shifted through angry red patterns as she watched human ships disable her defenses with embarrassing ease. The Syndicate had relied on secrecy and hidden bases for protection, but Earth had found every facility and planned countermeasures for every defense. "How is this possible?" Lady Nyxandra demanded of her scientists. "Our studies showed humans were genetically predisposed to avoid conflict. They should be incapable of organized military action." Her chief researcher, a crystal being named Veltar, examined the tactical data with growing confusion. "The human ships are using technologies we did not know existed. Their weapons operate on principles our science cannot explain. Either they developed this capability in secret, or we fundamentally misunderstood their nature." Lady Nyxandra's form cycled through colors of fear and rage. "Begin immediate termination of all human test subjects. If we cannot study them alive, we will learn what we can from their corpses." But Amy Carter had anticipated this order. Human boarding teams were already cutting through Syndicate ship hulls using molecular disruptors. The alien scientists found themselves facing human soldiers who moved like predators and fought with ruthless efficiency. Dr. Kate Bennett was part of the boarding team that breached Lady Nixandra's primary research vessel. She had traded her diplomatic robes for military armor and carried weapons designed specifically to neutralize crystal beings. Her xenobiology knowledge had proven invaluable in developing countermeasures against alien physiology. Surrender, and you will be treated according to galactic law, Kate announced as human soldiers surrounded the Syndicate scientists. Resist, and you will discover why humans were apex predators on their home world. Veltar attempted to activate a self-destruct sequence that would kill all the human prisoners. Kate shot him with a sonic disruptor that shattered his crystalline matrix into powder. The other scientists immediately surrendered. Throughout the galaxy, the pattern repeated. Human forces struck with overwhelming superiority and perfect coordination. The aliens who had mocked human mercy found themselves facing human justice instead. Zara Thiel, the consortium military strategist who had tried to warn against attacking Earth, watched the destruction of her civilization's fleet from a damaged command ship. She had studied human military history and understood what her leaders had unleashed. They were never weak, she said to her surviving officers. They chose to be peaceful. There's a difference between cannot fight and will not fight. We forced them to stop choosing peace. Admiral Vexara made one last desperate attempt to rally her forces. All ships attack the human fleet. Show them what Krillian warriors are capable of when cornered. Her remaining vessels charged toward Maya Torres's task force with weapons blazing. The human ships responded with devastating effectiveness. Krillian plasma cannons that could melt asteroids barely scratched human shields. Human weapons punched through Krillian armor like paper. In less than 10 minutes, the Krillian fleet was destroyed. Admiral Vexara's command ship drifted powerless in space as human marines prepared to board. The reptilian admiral who had claimed humans were too weak to fight back now faced capture by the very species she had underestimated. Lady Nixandra attempted to escape in a stealth ship, but human sensors tracked her through dimensions the Syndicate didn't know existed. Amy Carter's pursuit squadron cornered her near the galactic rim where she finally surrendered rather than face destruction. Sci-Fi Moonweaver held out the longest, retreating to the consortium's most heavily fortified world. She surrounded herself with human prisoners and threatened to execute them if Earth forces attacked. Admiral Morgan's response was swift and surgical. Human special forces teleported directly into Sci-Fi's command center using technology that bypassed all known defenses. The elf found herself facing Commander Maya Torres in person as human soldiers secured the captured civilians. You said mercy was weakness, Maya told the captured elf. You said humans were too afraid to fight. You said our compassion proved we were defective. Do you still believe that? Sci-Fi looked around at her defeated forces and the human soldiers who had appeared like phantoms to rescue their people. For the first time in her long life, the elf had no clever words or mocking laughter. What are you? She whispered. Maya helped, a wounded human child to her feet before answering. We're the species that chose to be better than our nature. But when you forced us to choose between our principles and our survival, you learned what we were before we became civilized. The alien alliance that had mocked Earth's mercy was broken in less than 72 hours. Their fleets were destroyed. Their leaders were captured. Their carefully planned genocide of humanity had become their own destruction instead. Admiral Morgan addressed the galaxy from the Bridge of the Retribution as human ships established control over former alliance territories. For 50 years, Earth offered friendship to the galaxy. We shared our medicine, our technology, our food, and our knowledge freely with any who asked. We chose mercy over violence and compassion over conquest. You mistook our choice for weakness. That was your fatal error. 6 months after the war ended, Sci-Fi Moonweaver knelt in a simple courtroom on Harmony's rest station. The beautiful elf who had once mocked human mercy now wore prison clothes and restraints that prevented her from using her natural abilities. Commander Maya Torres read the charges against her while representatives from dozens of worlds watched the proceedings. Sci-Fi Moonweaver, former consortium diplomat, you stand accused of genocide against sentient beings, torture of prisoners, violations of galactic law regarding medical personnel, and crimes against sapient species. How do you plead? Sci-Fi looked up at the human officer with eyes that no longer held arrogance or mockery. The elf had spent months in human custody and learned what justice meant to a species she had underestimated. She had expected brutal revenge, but received fair treatment according to galactic law. This somehow made her crimes feel worse. "Guilty," she whispered. The courtroom was silent. In the gallery sat survivors from New Geneva and other human colonies that had been attacked. Dr. Kate Bennett was there representing the victims. She had become Earth's chief prosecutor for war crimes, and her knowledge of alien psychology made her devastating in court. The defendant participated in the systematic murder of 2.3 million human civilians, Kate said as she addressed the panel of judges from neutral worlds. She personally supervised the torture of captured medical personnel. She broadcast these atrocities as entertainment for galactic audiences. She showed no mercy to children, doctors, teachers, or any humans who tried to help alien worlds. Judge Velmac from the neutral Centauri Republic looked down at Sci-Fi. "The evidence against you is overwhelming. Recordings show you laughing while human children were murdered. You claimed humans were genetically defective because they showed compassion. What do you say to these charges?" Sci-Fi stood slowly. The elf who had once commanded fleets and shaped galactic policy now looked small and broken. "I believed humans were weak because they chose peace over war. I thought mercy meant they could not fight back. I was wrong about everything." In another courtroom across the station, Admiral Vexara faced her own trial. The reptilian admiral, who had attacked medical convoys, showed no remorse for her actions. She glared at the human prosecutors with unblinking yellow eyes. "I regret nothing," Vexara hissed when asked about the murder of human medical personnel. "War is war. The weak deserve to be eliminated. If humans were truly strong, they would have struck first instead of sending healers into combat zones. Captain." Amy Carter testified about finding the destroyed medical convoy. She described how Krillian forces had targeted unarmed doctors and nurses, how they had killed humans who were trying to surrender, how Vexara had broadcast the massacre as propaganda. "The defendant claims war justifies her actions," Amy told the court. "But these were not soldiers. They were doctors carrying medicine to treat plague victims. They posed no military threat. They were murdered for the crime of showing compassion to those who needed help." The judges found Vexara guilty on all counts. Unlike Sci-Fi, the Krillian admiral showed no regret or acknowledgement of wrongdoing. She was sentenced to life imprisonment on a secure facility where she would have time to consider her crimes. Lady Nixandra's trial was different. The crystalline being had cooperated with human investigators and provided information about syndicate research facilities. Her testimony helped rescue thousands of human prisoners who were being used for medical experiments. "I studied humans because their behavior seemed impossible," Lady Nixandra explained to the court. "Most species become selfish under stress. Humans continued to help each other even while being tortured. I wanted to understand this anomaly. I realize now it was not a defect, but their greatest strength." Dr. Kate Bennett questioned Lady Nixandra about the experiments conducted on human subjects. The crystal being's form shifted through patterns of shame and regret as she described the research. "We believed compassion was a weakness that evolution should have eliminated. We studied human pain responses to understand how they maintained emotional bonds despite suffering. We thought we could cure this trait and make humans more like other species." Kate looked at the rescued human prisoners in the gallery. Some still bore scars from syndicate experiments. Others had lost family members to alien research, but they had testified calmly and without hatred for their captors. "Do you still believe human compassion is a defect?" Kate asked. Lady Nixandra's crystalline form cycled through colors of understanding. "No, I believe it is what makes them superior to species like mine. We studied their weakness and discovered our own instead." The trials continued for months. Lower-ranking officials, ship captains, and research scientists all faced judgment for their roles in the attempted genocide. Some showed remorse, like Sci-Fi. Others remained defiant, like Vexara. A few, like Lady Nixandra, seemed to genuinely understand what they had done wrong. Admiral Lisa Morgan was appointed as the first human Supreme Chancellor of the Reformed Galactic Council. She used her position to establish new laws protecting medical personnel, refugees, and civilian populations. The protocols that had failed to protect humans would not fail to protect others. The galaxy learned a hard lesson. Admiral Morgan addressed the Council during her first official session. Mercy is not weakness when backed by strength. Compassion is not surrender when paired with justice. Earth offers both to those who deserve them. The new galactic order was built on principles humans had always tried to follow. Help those who need help. Protect those who cannot protect themselves. Show mercy to those who show mercy, but respond with overwhelming force against those who choose cruelty over kindness. Commander Maya Torres became head of the new galactic peacekeeping force. Her mission was to prevent future genocides and ensure that no species would suffer as humans had suffered. She led fleets to dozens of worlds where stronger species oppressed weaker ones. Earth's mercy is still available, Maya would tell aggressive civilizations, but it is no longer unlimited. Choose your actions carefully, because we will choose our responses accordingly. Captain Amy Carter commanded the medical rescue fleets that responded to disasters throughout the galaxy. Human ships still carried doctors and supplies to worlds in need, but now they traveled with military escorts and had authorization to defend themselves against attack. Dr. Kate Bennett established the Institute for Galactic Ethics on Earth. She studied how civilizations could maintain compassion while still protecting themselves from those who would exploit their kindness. Her research helped other peaceful species learn the difference between choosing mercy and being forced into it. Zara Thiel, the consortium strategist who had tried to warn against attacking Earth, was offered clemency in exchange for her cooperation. She became an advisor to the new galactic government and helped establish protocols for preventing future conflicts. Humans taught us that strength and mercy are not opposites, Zara Thiel explained to a gathering of military leaders from various worlds. They can exist together when a civilization is wise enough to know when to use each quality. Lieutenant Sophie Williams became the official recorder of human experiences during the war. She interviewed survivors and documented the atrocities committed by the Alliance. Her records ensured that future generations would remember what happened when mercy was mistaken for weakness. The galaxy thought humans were sheep, Sophie wrote in her final report. They discovered we were shepherds instead. We protect the flock, but we know how to deal with wolves. The memorial service for the victims of New Geneva was held on the first anniversary of the attack. Representatives from every human world and many alien species attended. Admiral Morgan delivered the main address standing before a wall containing the names of all who died. These people died because they chose to help instead of hurt, Admiral Morgan said. They died because they offered healing instead of harm. They died because others mistook their kindness for weakness. We remember them not just as victims, but as examples of what humans can be at our best. Sypha Moonweaver watched the ceremony from her prison cell. The elf had been sentenced to life imprisonment, but was allowed to see news broadcasts. She watched human children placing flowers at memorials for alien victims who had died in other conflicts. She saw human doctors treating the wounded from species that had once been their enemies. They are still showing mercy, Sypha said to her guard. Even after what we did to them, they still help others who need help. The guard was a human veteran who had fought in the war. He looked at the broadcast and then at the former consortium leader. Mercy was never our weakness, he replied. It was always our choice. You forced us to choose differently for a while. But mercy is still what we prefer when it's possible. Sypha thought about this as she watched human aid ships departing for disaster zones throughout the galaxy. The species she had tried to eliminate was still doing what it had always done. Still helping, still healing, still choosing compassion, whenever possible. But now the galaxy understood that human mercy came with human justice as backup. Kindness was still offered freely to those who deserved it. But cruelty would be met with overwhelming force from beings who had proven they could fight as well as they could heal.